Hello everyone, Correct James here, and today we have a rather interesting lock. This is the Miwa U9. It is interesting and aptly named because its mechanism involves 9 wafers which rotate around an axis at the top of the core, and the other side of the wafers interact with a sidebar at the bottom. Very cool lock. It's got some pretty annoying anti-pick mechanisms, which we'll go over later. I have a key here. Let's see if it works. Thanks to MacGNG for sending me this lock, by the way. So yeah, without further ado, let's clamp it up and get her picked. All right. Let's get this bad boy open. There we go. All right, let's get this guy gutted. Sorry, that was a little bit of a longish pick. The way this lock works, is it is designed to force you to have to drop pins in order to get it open, and so you'll see what I mean when we gut it. But let's do the first part now. So lock it back up. This thing is pretty annoying to gut, but just for you guys, we're gonna make it happen. I've never actually removed all the wafers from this lock before, so here's hoping that I am able to keep track of them. Alright, there it is. So, here's the sidebar on the top. Let's get my tweezers out. Here's the sidebar. I'm left-handed, so this is very awkward right now. Alright, there we go. Okay, so you can see right now, let's actually just zoom the camera in. So you can see right now that all of the gates are aligned where that sidebar was. And you can see them moving when the key operates. So the key pushes in 6 wafers from this side here, and 3 wafers from this side here. And even though you only see one cut, 2 of the wafers in this lock that are all the way into the edge literally do not have a cut. They end up being completely flush. So you can see inside of here that there are a number of false gates. See that one moving? It's got a false gate there, as well as a couple of serrations in between. But one of the interesting parts of this lock, which I've never seen before, is that the false gates in the different discs are actually different sizes. And what this does is it forces you to drop pins when you get out of the false gates, because you might have, for example, a pin which is, say, first in the binding order, the true binding order, with a very deep false gate in it. And that deep false gate will bind after all the other false gates, and by the time you get to it, in order to get out of it, you need to drop everything else in the lock, because if that wafer happens to be first in the binding order, it means that it requires more counter rotation than everything else. And so the key to picking this lock is sort of a bit of patience, perseverance. The idea is that if you start dropping pins, it doesn't mean you've messed up. As long as you've made progress and set a new wafer in the process of dropping everything, you will eventually get there. So you really just need to not give up partway through, and it'll open eventually. I'm not going to do this part on camera just because I'm hungry and I want to go cook dinner, and it's going to take a little while. So I'm going to get back to you guys later, and I'll have all of the wafers out of here so we can take a look at them. Alright, here we go. The lock is all opened up. You can see these top wafers here correspond to this side of the pin, and these bottom correspond to the well, 6 cuts on the left. There's only 5 down here because I left the last one here so you can see how it moves. So you can see this sort of profile wafer in there. And the way it works is this little piece of metal on the top. Come on, focus. Come on. Close enough. Okay, so this little piece of metal on the top is the spring, and it's held in place like so. And the key comes in, and it pushes this outwards. And it springs back in using the spring, as you can see. So this right here happens to be the true gate. This is a pretty low cut pin in the key. You can see that it's that one right there. This does have a false gate further back, but yeah, so it has this rotation point on the top, and the bottom is where it interacts with the sidebar, like so. And then these are all stacked on top of each other. Oop, yeah. Create a huge mess with these profile wafers in between them. So as I mentioned before, one interesting point about this lock is that it does have both serrations and false gates. So in this one, if I can get it, the lighting right, you can see there's a false gate here, which they make by what appears to be creating a true gate and then adding another piece of metal in there to stop it from being a true gate. And then in between that, there are 2 serrations followed by a true gate. But one of the interesting things is that the false gates are not all the same size. So this is pins, these are 2 of the pins from the right side. And you can see that the false gate on this pin is wider than the false gate on this pin. And it's hard to see on camera, but the depths are also very slightly different. And so this is part of the reason why it's very hard to pick this lock without dropping everything a few times. But again, it's not a bad thing to drop things in this lock. It's part of the process. Alright, so I'm gonna go probably have a hell of a time putting this thing back together. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Come on, focus. There we go.